Hello and welcome to a tutorial. Today I'll be talking about the node graph over here. This is where all your work is going to be. So earlier in the first tutorial, if I'm not wrong, I said that I won't be going through much of this toolbar. So this is a toolbar where you can see nice icons, and each icon brings in a node. So let's say a pre-mount. If I click on this, it will add a pre-mount into my node. I personally find this very slow. What you can do is that you can right click on the node, it's on the node graph itself, and you can bring down this menu, and in this menu you have different nodes as well. So you can basically just find the nodes that you want here. But personally I try and remember by heart what each node does. It may seem daunting at first, but um, trust me, you will work way faster if you remember most of the nodes. And you don't really need to know everything because you won't be using everything. For example, particles, like you won't even use it much in compositing. So just basically just remember the ones that you use the most. And if you want to bring them in, instead of going through this menu and searching, or from this toolbar here, you can always press tab and type in the name of the node that you're looking for and press enter, and then it will bring in the node. So this is way faster, way faster. um, so let me just talk about like how in Nuke we bring in the nodes and how we hook it up. So for example, this is the merge node. It's hotkeys M to create one. So as you can see, they have the A and B input. Basically in every node, the A input is always above the B, and then you see this arrow here. It means the product of this calculation will come in down to this arrow. So basically everything in Nuke, you'll be working downwards. So for example, I have this scan here, and I want this checkerboard over my scan. So A over B. That's it. And then let's and this is the product. So for example, if I wanted to change this to a multiply, you can see this is the product. So A multiplied by B is this, and this arrow that goes down will feed into your next calculation that you want to make. So for example, I want to make this red over this, so I put the red constant in my A, and B goes to my previous thing. So this is the product of my nodes. So as you can see, we're working down, and also notice that my B input is always going upwards and downwards this way in the vertical line, and the A is always on the left hand side, because on the right hand side, this arrow, and basically almost all the nodes that you create, the mask input is always on the right hand side, like this. So whatever masks that you have, you will put it on your right hand side, because it's only logical if that it's supposed to be on the right, since the arrow comes in from the right. I mean, if you're gonna put it this way, you can, but if you want to drag out another A input from here, it just doesn't make sense. So let me just delete this. And something to note, so this is our final product from this calculation, small calculation. So for example, if we wanted to look at this but make the checkerboard smaller, we don't need to take this away and change this setting. We can just leave it as it is. We can select the object that we want to do some operation on, and bring in a node that will make the operation. So for example, if I wanted to do a transform on this checkerboard, just type it in so you can see it's going into the transform, and the transform will make an operation and bring it to the multiply. So let's say I wanted to make this smaller, and you can see on the output here it is happening in real time. Look at this. So you can still keep your nodes in place and make the edits inside each other. Example, I can still change this red to a green, or blue, or even nothing. So this is the power of the node based compositing. So beside this, you will see that there will always be a viewer. This is basically what I was talking about. If you press 1, 2, 3 until 0, each viewer has 10 views to go to. Thing about viewers is that sometimes after a while, um, I don't know if this is because of RAM issues, but your viewers may have problems. No worries, you can always select the viewer and delete it, and then your viewport will be gone. But there's no worries if you just select the node and press 1 to 0 or any number in between, like 5. It will recreate a new viewer for you, and that should fix the problem. So let's just click 1 and view this. You don't have to put this down. May confuse you. This node doesn't really affect what your work is doing, so you can just put this anywhere you want. So that is the node graph. Several hot tips. So hotkeys for you: M is merge, B is blur, and then we have C for color correct, and then G is for grade. Grade is something you'll be using quite a lot as well. So for example, if I just bring in the grade node here and view the grade, and then just let me close this view stuff, I can change basically the color of my plate, and then I can adjust the gamma as well. I can even change the white points and black points, can change their colors. So it's kind of like uh, grading your photographs in Lightroom. So this is how you can do it as well, like this. I think it's a bit strong. It's way too strong. So anyway, this is the grade node. O is to create a roto node, and P is for roto paint. Most of the time now you can just use the roto paint node, but sometimes I like to just use a roto node, so um, it's more obvious which nodes is roto and which nodes is paint, so it won't confuse other people if they are taking on your script. You can use T for transform, which is to move things around. Obviously nothing's moving because I haven't plugged anything here. So if I view this now, you can see that I'm transforming my scan. There's something to make um, people's life easier as well. If let's say all my nodes is just jumbled up everywhere and I like it to be neater, just select everything, press L, and it will line them up. So just a quick example: imagine like all these nodes have to be plugged in to this, and look at this, this is just so messy. So there's one way you can do it. One way is to create a dot. So that's full stop, and you could just link it up here like this and pull this, plug it in to the scan, and this basically is the same result. It's just about managing your nodes and making them look nicer. So I'm just gonna lay them out like this. So this is how you can make your stuff neater. Also, if for example this may be quite confusing because the A is from this dot, and if I put it like this, you may think that it's a double merge on the rotor paint, which is not. So there's one way to counter this, which is whenever you hold the control key, you see these yellow squares that come out. Basically, these yellow squares, if you click on them, they turn into dots. So it's more of a trick to change, to make your things more organized. So for example, if I prefer my blur to look like this, to look more neater, I can just create the dots like this. But obviously this is quite it's getting worse. So um, the best way I do it is just unlink all of this. I'll just link them to each other, this and to this, and this looks way 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 neater than what we had before. So sometimes the lining up will screw up everything, so you may not want to use it sometimes. So I'd say that this is pretty much decent. You get everything you want. So basically you can see the highlights where the pipe is going, and this should be quite straightforward, I guess. So let's look at the properties bin, and notice that there are three things only. It's very straightforward. This on the right hand side basically means close all the tabs, all the properties here, like this. It's all gone. This means locking the properties bin. So if I double click a node, instead of having the properties appear here, it will come in a window. So I'm going to close that for now and unlock this. And this button, this number, basically means how many properties can you display in this bin. So right now it's 10, but I want to change it to 1. So each time I double click a node, it will just replace, it will not add on. If I set this to 2, you realize that it's always only 2 properties in the bin. So that's something nice to know. And just let me just frame this, and I guess that's about it. Besides the fact that, let's say if you get lost as well, you can just press F, which I did mention in the second tutorial. Okay. Um, so that's about it for the viewport, I guess. Um, these are one of the main nodes that you keep using, especially the merge node. I think in the next few tutorials you'll just go straight ahead with some projects. This basically covers most of what you need to know in basic Nuke. So thank you for your time.